Take my hand. I'll lead you into death. By a whispering in the shadows on AO3. Episode 5. Chapter 4. Reaper was fucking fast, but Katsuki could blast faster, though not as subtle. Before the blaster could turn on him, though, he aimed a precise blast at the assassin's feet in an attempt to block them down. It didn't work, though, Reaper seemingly having a sixth sense and jumping before it struck them. It did slow them down slightly. As they turned to face Katsuki, the blonde gave them no time to retaliate, throwing a blast punch right at their face. The asshole dodged easily, but Katsuki was trained for this, and was ready for a counterattack, kicking his foot out hard. He didn't aim well, but landed a solid hit on their stomach, smirking slightly at the grunt he heard. His leg was yanked backwards. He was on his back, rolling to get back to his feet. He got back up quickly, ready to punch, but Reaper had taken off again. What the fuck? Katsuki mumbled to himself before trying to fly another way. Don't fucking run away from me, you bastard! Is that all you got, eh? He shouted, firing up an AP shot of autocannon. He knew the laws with using his quirk, but he was far too gone in a spiral with the Grim Reaper to care. Before he could send off any blast, however, Reaper spun on their heel, flinging something up at Katsuki. He put his hands up to an attempt to block whatever was thrown, but the device wrapped snugly around his wrist. Huh? Before he got any time to dwell on it, he realized he was heading back down to the rooftops and aimed a blast to break his fall. There was no blast. His quirk wasn't working. Still in shock, his reaction was delayed, landing hard on his arms as he rolled up the stance. He winced at the loud popping on his shoulders, gripping it tightly, and swaying slightly. Looking up, his wide eyes barely jumping out of the arrow that was flying to his face. He didn't manage to dodge the punch that was followed. His eyes watered instantly at the impact on his nose, vision blurring. He moved his head back at the next kick, tried preparing his own hit. There was no use. Reaper was insanely fast. Katsuki blocked as many hits as he could, reaching into his pocket of his cargo pants, praying he had put his knife back after they had washed. He smugged as his fingers wrapped around the hilt, pulling it out and swinging wide. If there was one thing being instructed by a hero who can ease your quirk with a look that had taught him, it was to always be prepared. He swung the knife again, but Reaper caught his arm, bending it backwards. Katsuki barely held back a scream at the snap of his wrist. His knife going flying. A rapid kick to the chest forced him back a couple feet. Though in pain, and sweating profusely, Katsuki looked up, knife at ready. He froze, staring down the pointed of an arrow. They both stood, unmoving, panting heavily, as they stared at each other. Katsuki's eyes were wide as he waited for the final blow. He's not a fucking quitter. He doesn't give up, even during the toughest of battles. But as he stood, facing death, he felt like the fight drained out of his body. Before he could fully process the situation, however, the Grim Reaper tilted their head, dropping the arrow slightly. Then everything went dark. When he came back, a paramedic was speaking to him. Aizawa stared down at him, face etched with worry. Heroes, police, and paramedics ran around him. The last thing he noticed was that his knife was nowhere to be seen, before everything went dark again. A number of hours later, Katsuki was in Izuku's car, an uncomfortable silence filling the space. Recovery Girl had healed his dislocated shoulder and broken wrist, so all that was left was a minor concussion and a few bruises. Once cleared, he was marched straight to the police station, where he had sat in an uncomfortable chair, ice pack to his pounding head, repeatedly answering their questions and retelling the events countless times. They had managed to cut off the core-canceling device, so he was able to burn off some of his sickening sweet sweat. He was seriously ready to pass out, but from the look on Aizawa's face, he knew that wouldn't be happening anytime soon. He groaned as they went over a speed bump, opening his mouth, ready to get this conversation started. Don't. Aizawa growled, with finality. Katsuki prompted shut his mouth. They both kept silent for the remainder of the drive, and the walk to the 2A dorm building. Once in the building, his teacher pointed at a dinner table, telling him to sit, and then disappearing into the kitchen. Katsuki sighed heavily as he sat down, closing his eyes. He knew his teacher was annoyed, but was he seriously pissing the blonde off? He was fucking tired. He was in a shit ton of fucking pain, despite all of the healing. He wanted his fucking punishment given to him so he could disappear and sleep for a week. His eyes opened when he heard Aizawa approach. "Look, I'm fucking sorry, okay?" he said as a cup of tea was placed in front of him. "I know I shouldn't have fucking done what I did, but I had my fucking reasons, okay? You didn't have to tell me something I already know. At least 50 other people have informed me on how dumb I was tonight. I get it, I know. But I'm also really fucking tired, so we can just skip this bullshit. Just give me the fucking house arrest or whatever, so I could go back to bed and forget this ever happened." Katsuki was getting more and more frustrated by the second, but as his teacher stared at him, expressionless, for way longer than fucking normal, he began to feel uneasy. Finally, Aizawa spoke, voice quiet. "House arrest. There is a large part of me that wants to expel you right now." Katsuki sat up straight, eyes wide. Their teacher threatened expulsion a lot, but he had never heard him sound so serious. "But I know that would only cause more problems, and quite frankly, you're one of the best students I've ever taught." Katsuki had to force his jaw to stay closed, almost dropping it in shock. This whole conversation was completely bizarre. Aizawa laughed mockingly. "And you want to forget? That's a real shame, because this is not something any of us will be forgetting for a long time. I mean, really, what the fuck were you thinking?" he hissed, anger beginning to drip into his voice. Katsuki gulped. No, actually, I don't want to hear what you were thinking, because clearly you weren't. You had one main rule when it came to the Reaper. Do not, under any circumstance, engage, especially alone. I wouldn't have engaged with them alone. No one on this case or off would engage alone, because we have all been specifically warned against it, because the Grim Reaper does not let people live. Ever. I don't care how good you think you are. I already know I wasn't supposed to fucking engage. I get it." Katsuki jumped at his teacher, slamming his hands on the table, eyes flashing red. No, you don't understand, Katsuki. When I got that call from Kirishima, telling me in a panic what you have told him, and then that you had taken off after the Reaper, after finding a dead body, I presumed the worst. When I got to that rooftop, all I could see was your body, unmoving on the concrete. He took a shaky breath. "Kami, kid, I thought you were dead." Katsuki sucked in a harsh grasp. He hadn't thought about that. He hadn't thought about what it must have looked like, coming to find him after knowing he had found a person who had never lost a fight and never missed a shot. The gravity of the situation hit him all at once. He had faced death plenty of times, but never like this. His vision went blurry. His breathing got heavier. How could he have been so fucking reckless? He could have died. He should have died. Ijiro could have died. He felt sick. He felt hot and sick, and like the room was closing in on him, and he couldn't escape, and all he could do was the point of throwing an arrow and... Katsuki. And there was a strong hand on his shoulder. "Katsuki, you need to breathe." And there were dark eyes glaring at him with concern. "That's it, kid. Deep breaths." And he was breathing deeply. He was breathing deeply, and he was sobbing in the arms of his teacher. If he was any more coherent, he would have been mortified. But he couldn't care, because he had almost died. He shouldn't have been alive to feel embarrassed. All he felt was guilty and a grip of fear, and so fucking sorry. I'm fucking sorry. I don't... Shit. I'm sorry. He gasped out, gripping his teacher's scarf. I know, kid. I know. You're okay. You're safe. Aizawa's arms were around him, holding him tightly as he cried, giving soft reassurances the whole time. It took a while, but eventually he calmed down, slouching in his chair as Aizawa got up to get water. He drank it quietly, looking anywhere but at his teacher, who was crouched in front of him, watching him contemplatively. Eventually, Aizawa exhaled deeply before speaking again. Look, I don't know why Reaper spared you. I don't know why he saved you before either, if that really happened. And we will be discussing all of this at a later time, but I am very glad that he did. Katsuki grunted as his teacher let out his millionth sigh. Just, if this ever happens again, which I actually really pray to whatever deity will grant me peace of mind that it doesn't. If it does, please, for the sake of my sanity, don't chase them. Actually, if you could avoid all villains for like a month so I can relax, that would be fantastic. Katsuki snorted. Yeah, because that was possible. His teacher groaned out something that sounded suspiciously like problem child. But whatever. It was a fair fucking observation. Aizawa stood up, ruffling Katsuki's hair, earning a low growl. Detention for a month. House arrest with chores for a week. One hair out of line, and you're banned from the sports festival. Understood? Katsuki grunted, but nodded. He understood this was his best offer. He understood that he probably deserved a lot worse. Good. Now go get a good night's rest. You're excused from classes tomorrow, but I expect you in detention after school ends. Aizawa said, as he went to leave, taking the teacups with him to the kitchen. Katsuki got up himself and began to make his way to the elevator before stopping. He cleared his throat. I really am sorry. His teacher stared at him for a long moment before shaking his head. Do me a favor, kid. Apologize to your friend. And don't get shitty with him if he doesn't let you out of his sight for the rest of forever. Katsuki grunted before heading into the elevator. He doesn't even remember getting to his room. All he knows is that he was out of it before his head hit the pillow. Reaper sat in the mirror room, staring straight ahead, trying to avoid looking at himself. He hated this room. The floors, the walls, the ceiling, everything was mirrored. Reaper didn't like his reflection. Reaper didn't like himself. But Papa couldn't know that. Papa couldn't know, because Reaper wasn't allowed to feel. Papa sat across from him, his long black nails tapping harshly on the glass tabletop as he watched Reaper. Reaper didn't want to look at Papa either. Papa was smiling, but his eyes were cold. Reaper never looked into Papa's eyes. Mission report, Reaper. His voice rang clear in the room, echoing through the Reaper's bones. Mission successful. Natsumi Katsuru had been eliminated. Reaper answered, voice monotone. He tensed at Papa's hum. Successful, you say? I wouldn't call it a success. He sang as a picture was flung onto the table in front of Reaper. He glanced down at it before looking back up. He didn't want to look at the blonde. He didn't understand. No, I wouldn't say a success at all, because there is a witness. A witness that my Grim Reaper saw, that my Grim Reaper fought, and has yet remained alive. My Grim Reaper doesn't leave people alive. Reaper continued to stare ahead, not answering. He refused to look up as Papa stood and approached him, as Papa sat on the table in front of him. Can my Grim Reaper tell Papa why the blonde boy is alive? He taunted. Reaper shook his head. He would not show fear. He couldn't. Papa sighed heavily, stroking his long nails against Reaper's cheek, before taking his jaw and turning his head. Look at me, Bunny. So Reaper did. He looked into the red eyes of Papa. The red eyes that inked black. It was so dark and so cold. I got lost. When he came to, Reaper was writhing on the floor in pain, Papa pulling him by the hair. The hang room, he said, and Reaper whimpered. One day. Reaper was hauled backwards by the shoulder and held on his feet as Papa stood in front of him. Red eyes peered down with pity and shame. Cold hands came to rest on either side of Reaper's face, Papa's thumbs stroking his cheek as he kissed his forehead. You know this is for your own good, don't you, Bunny? He whispered sweetly. Reaper whimpered again as tears fell from his eyes. Anger flashed in Papa's eyes as he ripped his hands away. Bunny, you know how I feel about tears. He looked at whoever was holding Reaper up. The dark room. He spat before swiftly turning back in his chair. Reaper screamed, his throat raw. Himura Ankoku dragged the knife down the cheek of the blonde in the picture, twirling a card in his hand. Bakugou Katsuki. He purred. Ka-chan. What am I to do about you? The boy had been getting in the way from the beginning. There were plenty of setbacks with his toy, but none, not even the boy's mother, affected his bunny the way the blonde did. He placed the card on the table, tapping his nails slowly, humming slightly to himself. Slowly, he turned the card upside down, before writing on it. I found your next mission, Reaper. He stabbed the boy's picture. I'm just going to play a bit first. I don't like this Himura on Koku. So it's not Izuku's father as I first thought. And, I have a feeling that... Okay. See, the thing about this one is... Okay. How many chapters was this again? 24, we're on chapter 5. I think by chapter 10... Oh, but we need more chapters than this to... Okay, chapter 5 is a long one. Chapter 5 is probably gonna be split up into 2. Maybe more. Depends. It could be 2, it could be 3. Looking. It could be 2, it could be 3. But, oh my god. Okay, that's intense. That's all I'm gonna say. That's intense. It's an intense one. Also, hi! Hello! This is my first episode I'm recording in 2025. That's so weird. It is the 3rd as I'm recording this, so I'm recording this a day before it airs. I'm a little behind in recording. I have been for like a month now. I really need to get on top of things. So for this year, my New Year's resolution that you guys need to know about, because this is gonna affect you guys, is not taking any breaks. Now, before you scream at me, what I mean is taking breaks in posting, not recording. I want to have a good schedule where I am weeks ahead of schedule so that whenever I feel the need to take a break or two here and once in a while, and always post a video every single day, all this year without fail. And let's hope. My other thing is to also get fanfiction club up and running fully so I can start on Rec Corner. Rec Corner is the next series that I'm going to start planning on, and I'm going to start as of now. I'm looking at all the fics I have to see which one. Rec Corner is just going to be me, recommending a bunch of fics for you guys to enjoy and read. It's going to be short. It's not going to be me going in full detail. I'm just going to say basic things that I liked about this fic, tags, things that I would add, be like, oh, these are the tags, but I would also add these as tags, like, hey, this, and this, trigger warning if you don't like this, and this, stuff like that. I'm still figuring out the layout of that stuff, but it is coming soon, and I'm very, very excited for that. It is going to be heavily scripted, though, and I'm not sure if I'm going to show my face in that one. I think it's just going to be a nice, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'm probably not gonna show my face on that one. I think that would be a little too much. But yeah, I cannot wait to have that one started up. And then, yeah, Rec Cloud. So first I'm gonna focus on Fanfiction Club, and then I'm gonna go into Rec Corner. Once Rec Corner is up and ready, I'm probably gonna do one-shots next. And I think I'm gonna do one-shots on Wednesdays instead, since my Revamp Corner and my Revamp series is going to be pushed back a whole lot more. I'm working on that in the sidelines. Revamp is no longer gonna be with what's it called? Music in the background. I'm scrapping that idea. Instead, you're just getting sound effects in the background to, you know, like, let's say if they mention that they're in a crowded mall, you're gonna hear ambience of a crowded mall. But I'm also adding voice actors. I'm currently holding auditions. If you didn't see my announcement in community, go ahead and check it out if you want to go ahead and audition still. This would be the 4th for you guys, so it's still open, it's still available. The last day you could audition is, I believe, the 10th, or was it the 9th? Let me check. It is the 10th. It is the 10th, because the 11th is when the cast will be announced. So the 10th is the last day that you could audition, and I cannot wait to see how that turns out. I'm working on that super much in the background. I'm currently just casting and doing all my fan fictions as dummy works, but I have already asked a bunch of authors that I have already podfic their work of to see if they would allow me to redo their podfic and revamp it into this new and improved version where I will be very meticulous about my spelling errors, and not my spelling errors, my punctuation, and I would be very meticulous with the background effects and also having voice actors, and I'm gonna be super excited to do all that. Is it gonna be stressful? Yes, it is. And for those series, instead of posting every single day, back-to-back series, it's gonna be until we finish the series, and once we finish the series, we will then post, and I will post chapter per chapter. If each chapter is 5 minutes, each chapter is 5 minutes. If each chapter is 1 hour, each chapter is 1 hour. However long that damn chapter is how long that chapter is gonna be posted. Every chapter is gonna be in par with an episode. So that's going to be super fun, and I'm really excited to see that coming along. Honestly, I'm so excited and I'm so psyched. So I hope you guys are also psyched with me. It's going to be super fun, and it's going to be, it's going to be an experiment. I'm going to experiment with my fanfictions first. And then we're going to go through that. It's looking like the lyric, was it the lyric in the line? No, it was not the lyric in the line. I was about to say it's looking like the lyric in the line is going to be the first one to cut up and ready, but I actually think it's going to be Silent Star Hidden Heart. That's going to be up and ready first. Let me check my soft casting because I already have a soft cast list. But yeah, it seems like Silent Star Hidden Heart is one that's probably going to be up and ready first, and then the lyric in the line is another one that's probably going to be up and ready as well. Yeah, I think Fluffy Mind might take a little bit more, simply because I did not get enough voice actors. I'm going to start chapters 1 through whatever. And for those, instead of waiting till the whole thing is done, because let's be honest, I'm also writing it in the meantime, I'm going to be uploading them as we finish them and uploading the writing as I finish it as well. So let's hope that everything goes smoothly and everything goes well. I am really excited for that stuff, and I'm so happy for the new year. I hope you guys are too. My message for New Year's is very late. I am so sorry. Again, I'm recording the first episode on the 4th because I was gone for a while. We had a lot of fun in my trip with my dad. I visited an IKEA for the first time, so that was fun. I bought a bunch of candles. I am delighted. Ugh. It is so ironic that someone who has a very weak sense of smell loves candles and burning them. I don't know why I do, honestly. It's not because of the sense of smell. I can't smell it. But I also only pick candles that I like the smells of. Like, I could smell the candle when I could put my nose to it, but when I burn it, I don't smell it. Unless it's a really sweet one, but like I really hate sweet scents, like with a passion, even though sweet scents are the most strongest scents I could smell. Make that make sense. Anyways, I've rambled enough about random stuff. I don't really have much to say on the fanfiction alone, other than the fact that I'm really scared for Angst, and probably that's why I'm rambling, just to keep your mind off of the angst that's about to happen to all of us. Anyways, as always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Link to my Discord server and socials are down in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.